All right, good evening, everybody. My name's Sam. I'm here to present a vegan power bowl today. And this is a lovely salad meal sort of deal. You got your beans and rice and a whole bunch of other nice stuff. We see we have all these great vegetables and herbs to put in there. So this recipe, some of the equipment you'll need, you'll want spoons, tongs, and I think a really important thing for this will be a colander. So we're using canned black beans, so you're going to want to drain and rinse those so that you don't have that, the gook on there. And then you're going to be blanching edamame beans, or edamame, which are soybeans, and those you can get frozen, and they'll just take a little blanching. I'll come back to that though. I should welcome you properly. I'm working out of Basics Market here, and we are happy to present you with these cooking classes online right now. And I hope you're having a wonderful time. If you're cooking along, I'm going to be doing this one pretty much in real time. So if you've already prepared your quinoa and your edamame and your wild rice, then we can just get into this together. So let's see, the first thing to do here is we're going to go ahead and make a simple vinaigrette. So I have some olive oil. I'm going to pour that in a bowl. And we're going to whisk in a little rice wine vinegar. So with the rice wine vinegar, it comes in seasoned and unseasoned varieties. We're using a seasoned rice wine vinegar here, which has a little bit of sugar in it. It's usually sweet, a little bit sweet. And so it'll add a nice sweet note to your deal there. It has sugar and salt. So that's the vinegar. If you already have a unseasoned rice vinegar open, by all means use it, and you could always put a little pinch of sugar if you want that extra sweet note. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and whisk in that 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar. And then I've got a pinch of red chili flakes. And then we've got salt and pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon each. And so that's our nice simple vinaigrette. And we're going to use, we'll use like half of this for the amount of salad we're making. And then you can reserve the other half and make the salad again, or use it on a different salad. Or if you find that you like more dressing, go ahead and use a little more dressing. You've got a bit of dressing to play around with there. Okay, so we have our nice vinaigrette ready to go there. And as I always like to mention, we make these really pretty recipe cards, and these are available in the stores, also online, and then in this kitchen in this gigantic form for the giant cook who's here when I'm not, when I sneak in while they're not watching. So anyway, and also I mentioned online, you can find all our recipes and also previous classes and some great just mini skills where we're cutting onions and all kinds of things that can help you with your daily cooking. Okay, so we have our vinaigrette done except for the citrus. So the citrus part of this citrus vinaigrette is some orange. So I have a bunch of oranges here. We're also going to be using 2 oranges in the salad. But right now I'm looking, and also I'm going to mince some ginger up here. But we're looking for a cup of orange juice. So there's a few methods to get the juice out of an orange, right? One, I'm going to go ahead and try this guy. This is really good for mostly for lemons, but you can squeeze an orange with it as well, and it's a little trickier because it doesn't really want to fit in there, but you can get the juice out pretty good, and but these are great for lemons and pretty good for orange too. You just have to move it around a little bit. And then, as always, we have a compost bowl handy to put all our compost in as we're working. Another great way to juice is, of course, this reamer, and these come in wood or plastic, all kinds of material, but the concept is the same. You're just get it in there and twist it around, and that always works really well. And yet another, so these don't have seeds, so I don't have to worry too much about that. Another method is just to squeeze it with your hands and give it a good kind of twist, and that works also.
Sam, could you use orange juice that's not fresh for this recipe?
And you can use, yeah, you could use a bottled orange juice, and that would be fine too. But since you're buying oranges anyway, you can buy a couple extra if you want the fresh juice. And these are Cara oranges, and they have that really nice color. Yeah, so that'll work. And if there are any questions, you're welcome to shoot us questions on the, I think you have a button there on your Zoom meeting deal, and you can ask questions as we go along here, and they will be read to me, and I can answer them as best I can, or we can look stuff up and get back to you. If it's a really complex question, we can do some research and get back to you and send you an email or something. So please feel free to questions, comments, all that stuff. All right. So we've got our cup of orange juice, and I'm going to go ahead and whisk that in. All right. Now that's looking good, right? And now we'll go ahead and add a bit of ginger. So here's our ginger root. A great way to peel the ginger root is, so I just tore off a knob. A great way to peel your ginger root is just with a spoon, and you just run that along the ginger, and the peel comes off without getting into the actual meat of the ginger. So it's a really economical way to peel the ginger. And get all that off. And we're going to be using a tablespoon of minced ginger here. So, of course, the all important tool today is a nice sharp chef's knife. I've got the 8-inch chef's knife here. And I'm going to go ahead and cut into this ginger root. There's sometimes with the ginger, there's some little odd spots that you can finish peeling up with your knife. And then to mince it, so I've got a I've got a nice flat side here, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut across, always keeping a nice, keeping a good base to work off of so that it doesn't flop around a lot on me. And then I can go through and cut kind of julienne strips of the ginger across. And then we'll be able to come back through again and get a bit of a mince. And I like to hold my knife right at the end of the handle, so there's that balance point with your blade and your handle. And you're just pinching with your thumb and forefinger. Get a good mince. Now you could also use like a microplane or a grater and grate the ginger, and that would work well also for this. And you get a nice fine ginger that would integrate into your dressing that way also. So we'll probably have, this looks like a nice amount. Let's see, tablespoon of ginger. So it'll be, so with the ginger, you're getting a little bit of heat, and with the chili, and then you've got the sweetness from that seasoned rice vinegar and the sweetness from the orange juice. So got a really great balance of flavor there. Very sweet and spicy. Okay, so there's our ginger. So now that's the dressing. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside for a moment. And now we can get into assembling the bowl and getting our ingredients together to assemble the bowl, I should say. So as I mentioned, we're using just canned beans. If you cook up your own black beans, that's great too. It'll be, 3 or 4 cups, it looks like here. That's 2 of those 15-ounce cans. And then you've got the quinoa. And so quinoa and jicama are both from South America. Jicama is a native of Mexico and South America. And jicama is actually a bean plant. So we're using 3 beans. This is the root of the jicama bean. And the rest of the jicama plant is quite toxic. It's poisonous, and it's used for insect repellent. But we're eating the root, and the root is quite delicious. And there's been evidence of the jicama root found in Peru from 3000 BC. So the root has been being eaten for quite some time, and probably was a painful discovery to first eat the beans and then the root. But anyway, the root's what's good with the jicama. Now, this is a giant jicama, and this is how with a jicama that's going around the market right now, and that's great. We can do all kinds of things with that. You can also use like a cucumber is a good substitute if you want. You just want that nice crisp kind of watery, almost like the jicama is almost like a water chestnut in a way in how it eats. But that's the jicama, and we'll come back to that with cutting. I'm going to stay in order with the recipe, right? So we've got wild rice too. So wild rice is, again, it's a native plant, and it's native to North America. And there's a few varieties of wild rice. There is a strain that is paddy grown, but originally wild rice grew wild in marshes. And there are still some uh, Native Americans who are growing the wild rice in that tradition. And you can buy wild rice from a brand called Native Harvest brand, and it's out of Minnesota, and it's all hand harvested and hand grown by the Native American community. So that's your real traditional um, wild rice, and so if you can track that down, which you can, and get that, you're also supporting the Native American community, which is a great thing to do. And that rice has a really great flavor, invoking the marshes where it is grown. Um, and that native that true native variety of rice cooks a lot quicker than this wild rice, which is it's good, and that's what I have here today. It's darker. You can see I have both varieties here. One is a little darker and shinier, and one the Native American Native uh, American style is longer grained, and it's a little lighter in color, and it blooms easier. Um, Either way, though, with wild rice, you just kind of cook it like pasta, get it in some water and boil it. It's not going to absorb the water like like white rice or short grain rice, what have you. It just cooks, and so when it gets tender, it's ready. This style takes almost an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. That Native American rice will go in 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, so that's the rice. So you can cook that ahead of time, and that lasts great in your refrigerator. You could do that days ahead, and you'd be fine. And with the wild rice, it's good to cook up a big batch, put it in your refrigerator, and then you can bring it out, put it into all kinds of salads and different stuff. So quinoa, it comes from the same region as the jicama, again, South American stuff, and another ancient South American food. Quinoa is really neat because it has protein and B vitamins, and it's a seed of a plant, and it cooks really easily. I eat a lot of quinoa. My family enjoys quinoa, and I like it because it cooks quickly, and so I can put a pot on the stove and put together some veggies, what have you, and throw them on top, and it all happens fairly quickly, and it's real simple. The quinoa is just a 1 part quinoa to 2 parts of water. And so in this case, it's a 2/3 cup of quinoa, and it's about, so that would be 1 1/8 cup of water. And then the quinoa does absorb the water, and so it's done once all that water is absorbed, and then you've got a nice fluffy grain. And again, it's a good thing to cook ahead, and then you've got it on hand. All right, so now we've got the wild rice, the quinoa, the beans, and we can start looking at some of the vegetables we're going to be utilizing. Zucchini, of course, we're headed into zucchini season, right, in the Willamette Valley here, and summertime, get a lot. If you put a zucchini plant in the ground, you're going to have plenty of zucchini to utilize. So this will be a great recipe for that. Other summer squash will work here too. You could use yellow summer squash, patty pan, whatever you've got. So we're going to go with a 1/2 inch dice. So I've cut both ends, and since this is a really long die, I always like to cut my longer vegetables down a little bit. I like the vegetable to sort of be shorter than my knife blade, and that way I can get some leverage on it, okay? So I'm going to utilize my claw with my left hand and tuck my fingers in out of the way. Got my good grip on my knife blade and just ease it through. And then for this 1/2 inch dice, for this size zucchini, I'm just going to cut it in half. And then with the rocking motion, tip down on the cutting board, just cut across. And there we go. And I have a cup measure here to measure out a cup. And what I'm going to do, I think this one zucchini will be perfect. And this side's a little wider, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this one in thirds across. And then I'm going to have a little extra, and I'm just going to use this cup measure to hold my cut veggies for a moment. And I'm going to go ahead and throw in the rest of this because zucchini's great. And we'll have a cup and a 1/4 cup or so. So perfect. Okay, so we've got our edamame, and once again, the edamame, it's the soybean, it's the fresh soybean, and so you can find edamames easily found in frozen, and then you just want to blanch it. So blanching, simply throwing the edamame in some boiling water and let it cook for 4 or 5 minutes, and then give it a good rinse with cold water, or you can dunk it in ice water to stop it cooking, and then it should turn a nice bright green. And when it's eaten like this, it just has a great creamy texture. But you do want to give it a little bit of a cook. Okay, so that's our edamame. Next, we have the jalapeno. So I've got 1 jalapeno pepper here, and it looks like we're going to be seeding and mincing, okay? So jalapeno, let's go ahead and take off the stem. And then we're going to slice it in half. And then here's that spoon's going to come in handy again here. And I'm just, I'm going to go ahead and knock the seeds down into my compost bowl. And you just want to be careful with the jalapeno juice, don't get it in your eyeballs. And then also after you're done handling the chili pepper, don't touch your eyes or sensitive areas until you wash your hands, because it will get you. It will get you. Okay, so with the jalapeno, to mince it, I'm going to cut it into long julienne strips. And then we'll go ahead and cut it across also. And this will give us another style of heat. So we have a little bit of heat going on with the ginger and the chili, the dried chili and the vinaigrette. And then we have this fresh sort of heat happening here with the jalapeno, which will be more up front. So I'm gonna give that a good mince. And I am just going to go ahead and pop this in my measuring cup here with the zucchini. All this stuff's going to end up in the same place. So a couple scallions, simply another name for a green onion. I've already rinsed these, and with the scallion, if there's any sort of, sometimes the outer leaves, the outer layer can be a little shoddy, so you can just peel that off. And then I like to trim just the very tips off sometimes, again, if they just get a little dried out. And then we'll trim the root end. off. And now I'm just going to slice right down the scallions, and I'm going to go ahead and do 2 at a time. Um, I feel pretty comfortable about that. If you're not, just do 1 at a time. Again, claw hand. And one thing when you're slicing something like this, you can actually, it's really a safe way to cut is to get your knuckle right up on there. So you use your knuckle like a guide, and that way you actually know you're not going to get your fingers in the way of the knife. And it's a little bit counterintuitive at first, but once you get used to it, it's really neat because between holding your knife firmly, gripping with your thumb and forefinger here, and you've got your knuckle here, there's really nowhere that knife can go. So what you're doing is you're avoiding slippage, and you just know where all your fingers are and where they belong, which is attached to your hand. And so keep it that way, right? So that's a good practice, and you can just, you can move slow, which I'm really good at moving slow, so it works. All right, so we've got the green onions in there. That's the 2 scallions, and now we've got some mint leaves, and mint is another thing that'll just go nuts right in your garden or backyard. And so mint you want to keep in a pot, because if you plant it in the ground, it will take over whatever space you put it in. All right, it looks like we're looking for 1/3 of a cup of the mint leaves and rough chop. So with the mint, I'm going to go ahead and just peel it off of the stem and just get the leaves. We don't want a lot of stem, or try to avoid any stem, but I might end up with a teensy bit. Let's see how we go here. And it smells great. And so the mint and the orange is a real classic combo. And yeah, this salad has a lot of great flavors and textures, which are plain together, and giving us a taste sensation. So this is a vegan dish, and that simply means there's no animal products involved. And there's a lot of reasons people eat vegan, and sometimes it's for health, and sometimes there's environmental reasons for eating vegan also, and just general well-being. But you don't have to be a vegan to eat vegan, and oftentimes I'm cooking a dish, and I realize after I've made it that I've made a vegan dish. And one thing that's really neat about exploring vegan cuisine is it really makes you branch out as far as looking at different protein sources and combining grains and seeds and nuts and beans to get a full nutrition profile. And so you end up with a lot of really interesting textures and flavors. And so it's really fun to explore vegan cooking. And challenge, it's challenging because with non-vegan cooking, and especially meat, which is just a great food source all at once, but the animals done all the work for us, and we are getting the protein and the vitamins and all that, and it's broken down by the animal, and then we just ingest that. So here with the vegan stuff, you're a little more challenged to put that together yourself, and it's very satisfying, and it's healthy stuff. Um, and tastes great, right? So anyway, we've got our mint there. And now let us look at the cilantro. So cilantro, here's a beautiful big bunch of cilantro, right? And so a neat way to get into that one, we're looking for a third of a cup again. So you can just shave the leaves off with the blade of your knife. If you just run it over the leaves, they'll pop right off the stem. And with cilantro, a little bit of stem is not a bad thing. The stem tastes just like the leaves. And in this case, it will give us a little bit of extra texture. So I'm going to go ahead and leave a little bit of stem in there. And then I'm just simply chopping it up. And what we have on our recipe card is rough chop. And I think that's one of my specialties. Also rustic cooking is another one of my specialties that within my repertoire. So rough and rustic is the name of my new restaurant. Just kidding. Okay, so we've got the jicama. And speaking of rough and rustic, right? This thing is like as big as my head. So jicama is tricky sometimes to get into. It can be a little intimidating, right? It's one of those awkward kind of deals. It's a big root. It's a big bulb. So as always, we want to look at safe ways to get in here. Now, since we're only using, we're using a cup, so we're going to kind of gauge how much we're actually going to need here, because I don't want to necessarily peel and chop more than I need, because like many vegetables, roots and plant matter. If you leave the peel on, it will last longer for you in the refrigerator and in storage. So I think I'm just going to get into half of this. And I think my best bet is to take off a little end piece, and then I can create that flat sort of surface that we're looking for. And I realize the brim of my hat is kind of getting in the way of things, so off with that. All right, so now we've got kind of a base to work off of that's fairly stable. And I'm going to go ahead and just rock my knife through it. So something like this, you want to have a firm grip on one side. And then this is how I treat like a acorn squash or a hard-shelled squash as well. Same sort of deal. You just want to get a good base. And then this sort of motion, I'm not putting necessarily a ton of pressure on my knife, because anytime you're just really torquing down on the knife, that's the chance where it could slip and you might get cut. So you want to just use this rocking motion, and that'll get your knife through most anything eventually, and it works, So you can either use the knife, or we could use a peeler to peel the jicama skin off. The jicama skin is quite thin, so you can just take it off with the peeler. But since this is such a big chunk, I'm feeling like a knife might be appropriate. And so I'm just kind of angling it and just shaving that skin off. Okay. So there we go. A big hunk of jicama. Okay. So we're looking for a dice on this, a 1/2-inch dice. So we kind of want to match our dice that we did with the zucchini, right? So I'm going to go ahead and slice the jicama. The jicama is really nice to work with because it just cuts in good, clean dice. And so I feel comfortable stacking with this. So we'll go ahead and do a bit of stacking, cut them into batons, right? Something like this, our French fry shape, and then cut across. And that'll give us some good dice, and that's going to be close to a cup, if not right on the money there. Yeah, 1 cup. Throw that in our goodie pile. And oh, next I've got the spinach, and I've already washed the spinach. This was just that baby spinach, so there wasn't a lot of stemming. I did sort of pick through it, and when I saw, a bit of a stem, I took it off. But really, it's not like, if you buy a bunch of spinach, you're more likely to need to stem it. And I always like to rinse my spinach, even if it's been triple washed or what have you. I have heard stories of frogs jumping out of those plastic containers of spinach. And I know there's a frog that lives in my lettuce patch, and we really like it there because I think it eats the bugs that like to eat my lettuce. But I try not to grab the frog when I'm picking lettuce. Okay, so next 2 oranges, and these guys we're just going to peel and then have them and dice them. So you could peel an orange, with your fingers, of course, but why use your fingers when you have a giant knife? And so once again, the usual take off an end, create a base, and I believe we have, this is reminding me of our supreming little video we did, how to supreme citrus. And so same deal here, we're going to start the same by taking off the peel down just past the pith, which is a little bit bitter. Get that stuff off, and go ahead and just take the end off here, get that remaining pith, and that's the advantage of using a knife for this, besides, feeling like you're using a tool. You also get all that pithy stuff off. All right, and so we're just going to cut in half, and then from here we'll cut into dice. So I'm going to go for this size orange, 3 across and 3 across, and that looks pretty good to me. And yeah, beautiful. And we'll do that one more time. And I'm getting as much of that nice juice in there as I can. And this time I'm going to, I see I already learned something from the last orange, and that's I'm going to cut off the top end to make it easier to see where I'm at with that pith, right? And that one's going a lot better for me. All right. See, I should watch my own video. Know what I'm doing. Okay, so then we're going to cut that in half. 3, 3, and again. All right. Now there's a bunch of ingredients. And then we have our toppings, and the toppings for the salad are pepitas, which are pumpkin seeds. Again, just if you're eating a vegan dish, all these nuts and seeds are just really, really good sources of nutrition. You get your proteins from them. Um, and pumpkin seeds are really a delicious source of plant protein. Um, they're even making, I tried this out a couple weeks ago, they're making this pum fu stuff, and I picked some up at a basics market, and it's really neat. It's like a meat-like uh, product made from pumpkin seed, and I've also experimented a little bit with it, um, and ground it up and turned it into sort of a loafy type thing, which it was really good. Um, but they're always a nice addition to salads. They have the crunch of like a crouton, and you're getting more nutrition. So these have already been toasted. So you can buy pumpkin seeds toasted or not toasted. If you're going to toast them, simply throw them in a skillet over some low heat and toast them up like that, or in an oven on a sheet pan. Keep an eye on them, stir them around a little bit. So those are ready to go. And let's get our avocado. So what I'm doing is I'm getting everything set up, right? And this is what we call our mise en place. And mise en place just simply means everything in its place. Um, so I've got all our ingredients here. And just as I look here, I did forget to show off this quinoa, which is pretty neat. This is a tricolor quinoa. So it has 3 different colors of the quinoa, and that's kind of a nice, it's a pretty variety. It gives you different colors, but there's different colors of quinoa and this like a regular white quinoa, you know, also. But again, quinoa is a good thing to have a big bag of. It grows when cooked. It really it expands. I think it's like, it seems like by 5 or something. I mean, you can really feed a lot of people with a little bit of quinoa. So it's a great food source. All right, so we've got our spinach ready to go. So mise en place, everything in place. The last piece of this vegan power bowl is the avocado. And so avocado is another one of those kind of little bit awkward type deals. But there are ways of getting in here safely, right? And so first off, you just want to stabilize with your claw hand, and then you can run the knife around until you feel the seed in there, and just move that avocado around, and then simply give it a twist. A way to know, you know, you want your avocado to yield just a bit to know that it's a little bit ripe. Um, and then this is a really nice avocado. And then the seed, the safest way to get in there is just with a spoon, and simply you know, pop that guy out. And here I'm just going to go around and get it. And then we've got the seed side. Okay, now to dice an avocado, there's one way to go about it is to dice it right in the skin. So I've cut lengthwise, and then I'm cutting across. And now we can simply pop it right out, and if you want it to be a little neater, you use your spoon, right? Not get it all over everything. So that's a good way to go there. Perhaps a easy way here too is to quarter it, and then just maybe run across by one, and then like that, and same sort of deal. just pop it right out, and then your spoon, it's about the width of the spoon, so it's a little easier to pop it out like that. Or of course, you can pop the whole guy, oops, broke that one out of the skin, and then just dice it up. And here we go. And there is another way, which now I'm out of avocado, but if you're not too concerned about, you know, the pieces all matching up, you can take your spoon and just pop it right out of the skin like this into your salad, and that would work too. All right, now we really do have all our components, and so I think we can put it together, right? So according to our recipe, we're going to combine the cooked rice, quinoa, and beans in a large bowl. So here I have a nice large bowl. And let's go ahead. Here's the beans, the quinoa, and our wild rice. And so I'm going to go ahead and just give those a good stir so they're nicely combined. And it's a really great base for a salad. Nice balance there. You can almost, just from looking at it, you can see there's going to be a lot of great textural things going on. Okay, then we're going to add the remaining ingredients. And so I got those except for the pumpkin seed and the avocado, which we'll reserve for the top. Okay, so here we go with the edamame, and put the spinach in there. And I should actually, you can tear or chop this. Whoops, geez, I wasn't expecting that. I did wash the spinach, so there's water in there. Anyway, and this is a little, that's about 2 cups. I had a little extra spinach. So that's just 2 cups. And I'm just going to give this that famous rough chop. And try not to get too much of my excess water in there. I should have drained it a little better. Oh well. It's nice and clean. So there's our rough chop spinach, 2 cups. Throw that in. And have a nice clean cutting board now. Toss that a little bit. I'm just going to get that in there so that it goes all throughout. And then we'll add the rest of our stuff. All right. Wow, so pretty. This really feels like summertime. Okay. So we've got that. Now we can drizzle the vinaigrette. And as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and use about half of this to start. And you can always add more, or you can save some of the vinaigrette for another use, or for another salad, another one of these deals. And so what you're looking for here is you just want to coat everything with that nice vinaigrette. And as the vinaigrette goes in, you'll see the salad is going to shrink down a little bit. So that's a good thing here. It's actually going to fit in my bowl. And then we can top with our avocado and pepitas. So here's the avocado. And here's the pepitas. Now, if you're serving this, table side, so to speak, individual plates, you could hold your pepitas and your avocado, and after you put the bulk of the salad onto the plate, you could put some sprinkled avocado and pepitas on at that point. Or you can do like this and then just put the whole bowl on the table and let people serve themselves. Either way, you're going to have a really delicious and powerful meal. So let us taste it, right? Now you can do some substitutions. You can substitute different grains like farro or barley for the quinoa. You can substitute different beans. Chickpeas would be good here. And whatever veggies you have on hand, really. Again, what I think we want to look at here is the interplay of the textures and all the neat flavors, and then how this nice fresh vinaigrette is going to pull them all together and give us a taste sensation. Let's see. So I get plenty of avocado and pepitas. So like that. And bon appetit. It's good. It's great. And I can already, after a couple bites, feel the power surging through me. And I think I feel 1 year younger. So anyway, it's very delicious, and it does deliver all those great different textures and flavors. The mint is wonderful in there, really kind of rides through it, and it is a party in my mouth. So thank you again for joining me. Again, my name is Sam. I'm a chef at Basics Market, and I really enjoy doing these classes with you. So please tune in, excuse me, tune in. We have some upcoming classes. The next class we're doing is the salsa, a class on salsas. On May 4th, just in time for Cinco de Mayo. And then we're going to be doing some nourishing desserts with our nutritionist, Lindsay will be doing those. And then I'm going to make you some cinnamon rolls in May as well. So a really great cinnamon roll recipe utilizing yogurt. And we're going to go through a steak 101 and look at chicken also this month, upcoming month. So please join me for some more classes. Visit the stores as always. Look for recipes online and skills. And happy cooking.